to our whole Article 1, Section 8, Part 3 thing?
A company,
Pfizer, yeah.
Pfizer took houses away from people.
Okay. So let me expound on that quite a bit. So essentially this town of New London, Connecticut exists, and it's run down. It's pretty rough in that area. There's a water bay area that's there, and essentially that's it. So this is the bay over here, and there's a bunch of rundown houses. Within that house is a little pink house, owned by a little old lady. She's 73 years old. Her name's, I think it's Marjorie. I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Kello. Okay. Now, this area in Connecticut is dying. They're experiencing a lot of economic decay. They're struggling very much. Pfizer, as some of you know, is a major drug company. Pfizer's net value is worth one of the top 10 in the United States. They produce drugs and pharmaceutical testing. This was going to be a testing facility. There was also going to be office spaces, a park, and a dock built as well as a result of the proposition that Pfizer brought in order to purchase this parcel of land to accomplish what they wanted to do. Now, does anyone know anything about eminent domain or the taking of the voting clause in our Constitution?
It's in the Fifth Amendment. You can take away someone's like private home if you compensate them for the full worth of like the land and everything.
Awesome. That's a great explanation. Let me kind of wordsmith it a little bit so I can make sure we use the right language. But that's exactly what it is. So, people's pride is in the last clause of the Fifth Amendment. This is super important to understand. That the language here is what is the determining factor. Is that public land or private land will not be taken for public usage without just compensation. You can't take my stuff without paying. Okay? Now, this is in the Fifth Amendment. So, let me ask, who's able to take land for a public usage without just compensation? Who can pay someone money, compensation, to take their land under the Fifth Amendment? The government, exactly. So, is Pfizer a part of the government?
No.
Can Pfizer take this property?
No.
No. Good. Hold that thought. Justice Stevens is very well known for having to defend his position on this case. It's been highly criticized for years and years and years. It's only been around for 10 years. I'm going to tell you that as a direct result of this, 12 states passed laws within the exact same 24-hour period that the judge was handed down to prevent this from going forward, and I believe 30 other states, for a total of 40 or 42, I can't remember the exact number, have passed legislation to prevent this exact same situation happening. So, needless to say, it was pretty egregious what happened, so prepare yourself. So, when Pfizer comes in, what are they going to bring to this area? Jobs, okay. What else?
A park.
A park, perfect. Something for public usage. What else? What's the big thing they're going to bring with jobs? What do jobs bring? Money. There you go. Money. Remember, guys, we're looking at the Commerce Clause. We're looking at things that deal with interstate commerce. Looking at things that bring money in. That's why Congress has the power, because it deals with money. That's what you should be deriving, that money is the thing that lets them pretty much dictate what they want to do. So yes, this brings in money. So Pfizer wants to do all this fun stuff. The only problem is Pfizer's not a government company. It doesn't have the legitimacy to do this. Justice Stevens writes something in the first sentence. Whenever you go back and read this, I want you to write this down, to reread this, because this is super interesting. He talks about in the beginning the power of a sovereign, which is the person who rules over something. And that's a harken back to kings and castle doctrine, and land being taken from one person and given to another person. He says, we're not going to do that. That's not what we're about in the United States, right? If you on that computer, I don't have the right just because I'm teaching you to take your computer and hand it to her because I think it's going to be more useful. I don't have that power. So he takes that out of the equation. But also, he states that public usage is no longer applicable or appropriate. So one of our Supreme Court justices just told us that the language in the Constitution is no longer applicable. Instead, later on, as you kind of plot through it, make sense of all the analogies, it gets to a point where he talks about something instead called public purpose. And I urge you, as you read through your cases and try to prepare, because you will have a couple questions on it, find the sentence that has to deal with public purpose. It's in quotes, almost all the way down the page on the left-hand side. Public purpose. Well, is there a difference between public usage and public purpose? Anyone think of any?
Like the difference between what you intend to do with something and what's actually being done with it.
Okay, let's expound on that a little bit. If I have a park, what is it? Public usage, right? Public use is a park, right? If I have a school or a hospital or a institute of higher education, what are those going to be? Public usage, right? You guys are all going to be the ones using it. You use churches and hospitals and all those things, correct? What about a business? What about a Walmart? Tricky one here. Still, is that a public usage? Does the public use Walmart?
Yeah.
Or does Walmart use its building to make a profit, and the public purpose is something a little bit different, creating jobs, creating a more feasible economy, creating opportunities in the area, economic growth, kickbacks and charity for the company, things of that nature? What do we think? Do we think it's public usage or public purpose? So this is the big distinction. Not quite both. Because the public doesn't use Walmart. There's no usage there. We don't get any use out of it. We just shop there. We're consumers. Okay? Remember, we're talking about in terms of money, guys. Money. Who's getting money? The company's getting money, right? The only thing that you could argue is that there's a small public purpose for the small amount of jobs that's created, and that's not going to affect any more than the 100 people that they may employ. We're talking about a large city here. When Pfizer comes in, they stated that they were going to create jobs for hundreds of thousands of people and provide millions, $1.38 million, I believe is the figure, every single year in just taxes alone. That's why it was a public purpose. Public purpose was to have the area for tax purposes, to have people get some revenues, to have jobs created, to have the area rehabilitated because the houses are run down and people weren't living there and it was a dangerous place to be. So big difference there. Anyway, as a result, what happens? Since they said Pfizer was a public purpose and now are interpreting the Fifth Amendment to be a public purpose, what happens? They allowed it. So what happened to our house? Private company took this land. And then some. That's the funny part of this. But yes, she had a little pink house, and essentially Pfizer was there. So that sets a very bad precedence that a private company can essentially do the function of a government and take your land. How would you feel if Walmart came in and took your house? You'd be pretty unhappy about that.
Just compensation.
Some people don't want to leave where they're from. You know, there's things that are there. It's pretty crazy to think about, huh? Well, check this out, right? So Miss Kello's property was 1,250 square feet. Her little pink house. It was ordered that that pink house was actually moved to another parcel a little bit further away. I think it was about 2.5 miles. It was disassembled piece by piece since it was made out of wood and reassembled on a different plot of land, which is now 2,300 square feet. Didn't have to pay a dime for it. Her house's value was $110,000, or rough about, when it was appraised. She was paid out over $435,000 for for the value of just her house, the property, not the house. She kept the house, just that little plot of land. She got $435,000, just compensation, I would say, right? And the other funny thing is this: is that after everything was said and done, there was so much public backlash from this that Pfizer actually never even went there. They never even did anything. So the government of the city of New London actually ended up paying $78 million for that land that is still undeveloped and to this day is now a waste dump. Literally, people just dump things into there. It's a dump. City dump of New London. They did not see a single dollar of the proposed $1.32 million that they were planning on getting from that company for the duration of its time. Not a single job was created, except arguably the disposal workers at the dump, and obviously that was an entire train wreck. So, very important case to know. That one's very interesting. I really like that case.